Happy day after Easter. I'm filming this to you at 5:30 on Easter afternoon. Normally my kitchen would be clean, but we had so many family members over here. The whole house was just full. It was wonderful, joyful. After tremendous services at the church, we all came home and the grandkids hunted Easter eggs, and then we ate this massive meal. And I have leftovers. We have mashed potatoes, we have green beans, we have leftover honey-baked ham and turkey and sweet potato casserole and the kids' sippy cups, and I'm drinking Diet Mountain Dew because I'm tired and I refuse to take a nap. So diet, no sugar, all of the caffeine. And we have not finished cleaning up yet, but this is the first time it's been quiet. First time I've had a minute to film this devotion for you on Monday. And so happy day after Easter. Family goes home. The Easter clothing goes back into the closet. All of the pictures get posted on Instagram. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag he is risen. And then it's Monday. And somehow this amazing experience ought to last longer than Easter one Sunday a year. It ought to be a part of our daily lives. And so I was so excited to know that I'd be sharing with you out of Luke chapter 24. But I'm not. I'm sharing with you out of Luke chapter 23 because somehow we messed up the timing going through the Gospel of Luke, one chapter a day. Today we're on chapter 23, which is about the crucifixion, and something about that just feels wrong. We celebrated the resurrection on Sunday, and now it's Monday morning, and I'm taking you back to the cross. So before you turn it off, give me a chance to show you. You don't have to be depressed. We're not going backwards to Good Friday. Let me show you some very positive things that happened on that day. In Luke chapter 23, Jesus is hanging on the cross. There's a criminal on either side of him. One of the criminals is cursing him, but the other criminal says this in verse 42. He says, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." He even told that other thief to be quiet. He says, we're getting what we deserve, but this man, Jesus, has done nothing wrong. Remember me when you come into your kingdom. That's faith. And Jesus says in verse 43, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Isn't that beautiful? Jesus forgave someone who really didn't deserve it because he asked. Today, you're going to be with me in paradise, in heaven, Jesus said to the thief. How was he saved? By joining a church? No, too late for that. You're hanging from a cross. By good works? No, all he had were bad works. That's why he had been punished to a cross, this thief. Maybe he's saved by baptism. Maybe baptism saves our soul. No, the thief was never baptized, and yet Jesus said, today you'll be with me in paradise. Baptism's not necessary for salvation either. All you need is grace. All you need is faith in Jesus Christ. And it kind of makes me chuckle to think that somewhere today walking the streets of gold is a grinning ex-con who knows more about grace than 1,000 theologians. All he had was a prayer, but in the end, a prayer was all it took. And that's all it will take for you. And yesterday, on Easter Sunday, there were a lot of people that prayed that prayer that changed their life. Nothing but positive. Let me show you something else very positive. In verse 50, we read, there was a man named Joseph, a member of the council, a good, upright man. This is Joseph of Arimathea. All four gospel writers talk about him. And John's Gospel, chapter 19, tells us that he was a disciple of Christ, but a secret disciple. And so Joseph goes to Pilate, and he negotiates for Jesus' body. And then what does it say he did? Verse 53, he took it down, he wrapped it in linen cloth. John's Gospel, chapter 19, tells us that Nicodemus was with him. Do you remember Nicodemus from John chapter 3, who came to Jesus at night and says, what must I do to inherit the kingdom of God? And Jesus said, you must be born again. It's the same guy. And he brought 75 pounds of aloe and spices to anoint the body. They wrapped it in a linen cloth, and they placed it in a tomb cut into the rock, one in which no one had ever been lain. First of all, this is a prophecy fulfilled out of Isaiah 53, that he would be buried in a rich man's tomb, Joseph of Arimathea. And so Joseph gives his tomb to Jesus. But that's okay. Jesus isn't going to need it very long. Actually, he could probably just rent it. But here's something I want to tell you that'll be very encouraging. And even though we just celebrated Easter, I see Easter even in chapter 23, because I've been to Israel more times than I can count. I've been in this tomb. And if you walk into that tomb, a tomb which we just read, where no one had ever been lain, if you look at the foot of the place where Jesus' body would have been placed, they carved down where his feet would have been. You can see where they carved into the rock about this much more space into the wall, as if the tomb had been built for someone shorter than the person who ended up using it. I guess Jesus was taller than Joseph of Arimathea. I've been in that tomb, and that tomb is empty. And because the tomb is empty, our hearts are full. So I'm going to put away all of that. I'm going to go into the yard and try to find the Easter eggs the kids did not find, lest some critter get into it. I'm going to probably eventually sit down for the first time all day. And Easter will be over. But will it really? Easter is never over if the risen Christ lives inside of you. So even though it's Monday, I'm going to say 3 words, and wherever you may be, I want you to repeat 3 words back to me. He is risen. He's risen indeed.